All right, so let's set the scene. You're a qualitative researcher, right? And you're curious, maybe even a little excited about what AI can bring to the table. But you just know the moment you bring it up, the questions are going to start flying. Well, that's exactly what we're tackling today. We're going to build a framework, a way of thinking that'll not only help you answer those critics, but honestly, it'll make your own approach to using AI way, way stronger.
I mean, you've seen what it can do, right? The potential is just huge. Imagine AI helping you spot those subtle patterns you might miss, or generating some initial themes to get you started. It could even, challenge your own biases, your own assumptions. There's this genuine buzz, this feeling of, wow, what could this unlock in my data?
And then, bam, reality hits. You get that side eye in the department meeting, or that friendly question from your supervisor that's not really friendly at all, is it? It's loaded. And that skepticism, man, it can be so frustrating, especially when you're just trying to push the envelope and, do good work. So the big question is, how do you stand your ground? How do you go from being on the defensive to offering a really confident, thoughtful explanation of your methods? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to arm you with 3 powerful, philosophically grounded responses to the critiques you're most likely to hear. Okay, let's dive right in with the first one. This is kind of the big one, the fundamental objection. It gets right to the heart of what we, as qualitative researchers, actually do, the art of interpretation. You've probably heard it, right? Some version of this question. It's always said with this tone, the one that implies the machine is just cold, lifeless silicon, totally incapable of grasping the beautiful, messy richness of human stories. And that right there, that's the core assumption we need to unpack. The skeptic basically believes that interpretation is this sacred, purely human thing, and the second you bring a machine into it, you're contaminating the whole process. But what if that whole premise is a little bit shaky? This is where we pull out our first philosophical tool, and it's a big one, hermeneutics. Now, this is a cornerstone of qualitative thought, and the core idea is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. It says we never have direct, unfiltered access to meaning, ever. Our understanding is always shaped by tools, things like the language we speak, our culture, our own personal history. So here's the kicker. If all understanding is mediated by tools, then AI isn't some weird intruder crashing the party. It's just another tool, a different kind of mediator. And this lets you completely reframe the conversation. You're not outsourcing your brain, you're starting a dialogue. Think about it. You ask a question, the AI responds based on the data, and that response makes you think, reflect, and interpret even deeper. You're not replacing your brain power, you're extending it. Okay, so let's say your colleague kind of buys that argument. They say, all right, I see it as a dialogue partner. But then they hit you with the next big concern. And this one is all about trust, it's about validity. And it sounds something like this. This question really comes from the fact that, large language models are basically probability machines. They're predicting the next word. So the skeptic says, hold on, how can we possibly build rigorous analysis on top of what's basically just a very, very sophisticated guessing game? What they're really saying, deep down, is that they're afraid the AI's output is just random, flawed, meaningless. That it's just a bunch of noise that's going to drown out the actual signal, the real stories in the data. To tackle this one, we pull out our second philosophical tool, Constructivism. And this is another idea you're probably familiar with. It's the belief that there isn't one single capital T truth just sitting there in the data, waiting for us to find it. Instead, knowledge is co-created. It's built between us and the data, and guess what? Multiple interpretations can all be totally valid and super useful. And this is where things get really cool, because this completely flips the script. The skeptic sees statistical noise. But when you put on your constructivist glasses, you see an analytic provocation. See the difference? The AI isn't handing you a flawed final answer. No way. It's giving you a draft memo, a starting point, a different perspective that you, the human researcher, get to wrestle with, interpret, and judge. You are always in the driver's seat, using its output to spark brand new ideas. All right, this all leads us to the third and maybe the toughest challenge, because this one questions your very integrity as a researcher. Yeah, this one can really sting because it feels personal. It's the accusation that you're just taking a shortcut, that you're skipping the hard, deep, reflective work that is the absolute hallmark of great qualitative research. Basically, the fear is that AI makes everything too easy, too fast, and in the process, it just strips the soul right out of the analysis. So how on earth do you respond to a charge like that?
Well, for this, we can bring in the philosopher Heidegger and his brilliant idea of a tool being ready to hand. Just picture a skilled carpenter with a hammer. When they're in the zone, they're not even thinking about the hammer as a separate object, right? It's just an extension of their arm. It's part of the action. The hammer shapes what's possible, for sure, but the carpenter is still the one calling all the shots.
And that is the perfect analogy for us. Think about it. We already use super complex software, right? NVivo, Atlas.ti. These things absolutely shape how we see and organize our data. AI is just the next tool in the toolkit. True research rigor doesn't come from avoiding powerful tools. It comes from being incredibly transparent and systematic about how you use them. So we've walked through the big philosophical defenses. Now let's get practical. Let's bring this all down to earth and talk about what this actually looks like in your day-to-day workflow. How do you actually do this and maintain your integrity? It really all boils down to one word: transparency. It's pretty simple, actually. First, document your prompts. Treat them like an interview protocol. This gives you a clear audit trail. Second, reflect on how the AI is influencing you. Seriously, in your memos, write about it. Did an AI suggestion confirm something you were already thinking, or did it push you somewhere totally new? And finally, make all of this visible in your write-up. Be open about your process. That is how you show your work and demonstrate real rigor. And this gets us to the most important point of all. The goal here isn't to work faster. It's to think deeper. AI, when used right, isn't about speed. It's about richness. It's a partner that can challenge you, offer up a weird new perspective, and ultimately push you towards a much more profound understanding of your data.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. This is not about a machine taking over your job. Not at all. This is about you, the researcher, making a thoughtful, ethical choice to bring a new tool into your process to help you do what you do best: make meaning. It's a true collaboration.
So yeah, the next time you face that skeptical question, you'll be ready. But honestly, the more exciting question isn't for them, it's for you. With this new partner in meaning-making by your side, what are you going to discover?